This is where Black is taking center stage. From reimagining a classic like Prime Video's new series, Mr. and Mrs. Smith by Donald Glover and Francesca Sloan.
What do you think happens if we fail?
Our marriage?
Our mission.
To the one and only Snoop Dogg in Prime Video's new comedy, The Underdogs.
I am your new head coach.
Explore Prime Video's culture-rated collection. Since where Black is, there are no limits. Restrictions apply. See Amazon.com/Amazon Prime for details.
Hi, my name is Jaia Thomas. I am a sports and entertainment lawyer and the founder of Diverse Representation. And you are listening to the Success Playbook podcast.
What's up, everybody? You are now listening to the Success Playbook podcast, where we talk about pop culture, life and career success, and of course, we're going to talk about who got dunked on the night before. I'm your host, Chanel S. Reynolds, and I've been in the sports industry for several years. My goal is to take what I've learned from years of dominating the sports industry as a Black woman to help my listeners defy the odds and level up in life and career. Now, let's dig into this week's episode. Hey, what's up, everybody? You are listening to the Success Playbook podcast. Listen, I am so excited about today's guest. She really don't need an introduction, but I'll just do it anyway. Her name is Jaia Thomas. She's a queen. She's a boss, and I'm sure you've seen her work online somewhere if you follow sports. Jaia, what's up?
Hi, thank you so much for having me, and congrats on the podcast.
Thank you so much. Listen, I am truly honored to have you here. I don't say that often, but I am truly honored to have you here. Seriously.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm honored to be here. Excited for the conversation.
Same here. Same here. So let's start off with a little game. Now, for my listeners who may be new, we're going to play a little game of this or that. This is going to allow us to get to know Jaia just a little bit better, especially for some of us who may not know Jaia personally. So, Jaia, are you down for the challenge?
I'm nervous, but I'm down.
These questions are safe. These questions are safe. All right. So I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and you just got to give your rapid response and then just tell us a little bit why.
Okay.
All right. So podcasts or books?
Books.
Okay. What are you reading right now?
I am reading this book called, I'm going to mess up the title, but the book is called How Not to Work All the Time. And it's a short book. It's like literally 100 pages. And it kind of gives advice on literally how not to work 24/7 because that's what I do. And so I'm trying to break away from that. And it's a great read so far. I'm only like 30 pages in, but yeah, I would say reading books. And I don't consider, I didn't ask for this extra information. I don't consider audiobooks reading. So I don't believe in audiobooks. It has to actually be like an actual book. So.
Okay, that sounds like a great choice, though. Okay, hot cereal or cold cereal?
It's going to be cold. I don't drink milk. So, yeah. Well, I guess no cereal because I don't drink milk. So, I mean, I'll eat it like out the box with no cereal. I mean, with no milk. So, just like dry cereal. I know that wasn't one of the choices, but dry.
Dry cereal. Okay, what flavor?
I like Raisin Bran.
Dry Raisin Bran. Okay. We're getting to know Jaia. I love that. We haven't heard that one on the show. Okay. What is your go-to meal to make?
So cooking really isn't my ministry, but I would say probably salmon and vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, basmati rice. I would say it's probably my go-to.
Okay, that's a popular one. We love salmon over here.
It's easy, it's safe, you know.
It is. And high in protein.
Yes, very high.
NBA or NFL?
Ooh, NFL.
NFL, okay.
Who's
your team?
I am originally from Cincinnati, so no matter where I live, I'm always going to be a Bengals fan. I left Cincinnati over 20 years ago, right after high school, but I ride for my home team, and I'm always going to ride for my home team. So I'm a Cincinnati Bengals girl.
Jaia, listen, because one of my pet peeves is people who switch teams. Like, I will judge someone's character by their flip-flopping capabilities.
Same. it makes sense. I'm like, what? No, you pick a team and you stick with it.
Exactly.
Good, bad, ups, downs. Yeah.
Through thick and thin.
Absolutely.
Okay, Jaia's a rider. Jaia, can we be friends? Because you're obviously a rider.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So we're done the game. That was safe, right?
That was safe. I can woosah now. I can take a deep breath. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for playing our game. So we're going to jump right on into the questions. First question is, who is Jaia? Tell us a little bit about you, your childhood, where you grew up, all the things.
Sure. So I am originally, as I mentioned, from Cincinnati, Ohio. So born and raised in the Midwest. And I, from a very young age, I always knew I wanted to be a lawyer. Once I figured out what a lawyer could actually do, help people, I was like, this is what I want to do. So I think from like 7th or 8th grade that my mind was made up, and kind of stuck on that path, honestly. After high school, I went to college in upstate New York. I went to law school in Washington, D.C. I worked in New York City for a while, practicing law, and then decided I wasn't doing really anything in the sports and entertainment space, but decided I had a passion for that space and really wanted to get into it. And so I decided after being in New York City for a few years to quit my job and buy a one-way ticket to LA, where at the time I didn't know anybody and I did not have a job lined up. I was just like, if I want to get into entertainment, I think I need to be in LA. So bought that ticket, moved to California. It was a very rough first few years, but eventually figured it out. And now I am a practicing sports and entertainment lawyer. I also am the founder of a company called Diverse Representation. And I've been teaching off and on for about 5 to 6 years at different schools in LA, such as UCLA, and a few other schools as well. So that is a little bit about my background.
Terrific. That was very bold of you to buy a one-way ticket to LA.
It was very bold. I was young. You know, when you're young, you just think you can do anything. And it was bold. I didn't know anybody when I moved to LA. I didn't have a job. I didn't have a car. I didn't got an apartment on Craigslist. And it was a rocky first few years. LA is the West Coast is it's very different from the East Coast. And so it was a hard adjustment, but yeah, eventually made it work.
So like when you decided to leave and move away from your family and all that, like what allowed you to keep going, right? Like, was it community? What was it?
I think it was just determination. It definitely wasn't community because I didn't know anybody. And it took a while to really build community in LA because LA is so spread out, you know, so it's kind of harder to meet people compared to the East Coast where someone is almost living on top of each other, you know, and it's much easier to meet people and people are outside and on the train. And, you know, it's easier to kind of build a community, I feel like in cities like New York and DC, whereas in LA, it's so spread out. People are mainly in their cars or at their job. So it definitely wasn't community because that took a while. I would just say determination and, you know, just a mindset of this is what I want. I'm going to figure out how to do it and sticking with it. Really half the time it's just a matter of like sticking with it and it eventually works out.
That's awesome. Okay. And so when you say you're a sports and entertainment lawyer, for some of our listeners who are out there, like what exactly does that mean?
Great question. So that can mean a lot of different things. A lot of people will say I'm an entertainment lawyer. That can mean a plethora of things. In terms of what I do, and I will say most entertainment attorneys have kind of their own specialty. So some entertainment attorneys only focus on music or only focus on TV. My lane is specifically TV and film. So I'm a transactional attorney, meaning the bulk of my work consists of drafting contracts and negotiating deals on behalf of my clients who work in TV and film. On the sports side, being a sports attorney can also mean a lot of different things as well. I primarily represent athletes, retired athletes and current athletes who do something in the entertainment space. So they may be athletes who have production companies or first look deals or podcasts, and I help them with all of their entertainment ventures off the field, off the court, and handle the legal for that.
So, okay. So what was your first deal as a sport and entertainment lawyer?
I will say I'll tell you my first it wasn't necessarily a deal. It was more of a client because I also do a little intellectual property work as well. So helping clients with like their trademarks, copyrights, things like that. And my first client was a comedian based in New York. Another attorney that I was close to referred her, and she wanted to trademark her name and some idea she had for a TV show. So I did those trademarks, completely messed them up, completely got it wrong. And ended up later being able to go and fix it, but didn't know what I was doing. And but yeah, that was my first kind of like work in the entertainment space, working with this comedian to trademark some of her stuff.
Okay. I love the fact that you just own the fact that you just totally screwed up the first time, and that's okay.
It's okay. It's okay. Everything is.
If you went on a road trip and you didn't stop for a Big Mac or drop a crispy fry between the car seats or use your McDonald's bag as a placemat, then that wasn't a road trip. It was just a really long drive. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
At participating McDonald's.
Not always going to be perfect and work out perfectly. So I will quickly own my mistakes.
So in the realm of being a sport and entertainment lawyer, are there any like notable people that we may know that you've worked with that you can talk about, of course?
Sure. So since we are on a podcast right now, so I did legal for another athlete who has a podcast called I Am Athlete. Brandon Marshall handled a lot of the legal paperwork for that and like the deals on that podcast. And since you're based in Washington, D.C., I'm trying to find some relevant clients here to you and your podcast. Since you're based in D.C., I also represent one of the housewives on Real Housewives of Potomac. Robin is a client. So yeah, it kind of runs the gamut.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. Can you send a message to Brandon Marshall and ask him if he wants to be on the show? Because he respond to my emails, but maybe you can throw some sauce on there.
Definitely.
Awesome. So Jaia, so you said you always knew you wanted to be a lawyer. Like what was it that number one made you want to be a lawyer? And was there some sort of thing that you saw on TV or like some sort of representation that kind of drew you in and made you say like, okay, I see a Black woman there. I can do that.
Honestly, there wasn't a ton of representation. I don't have any like attorneys in my immediate family. And I didn't even know a lot of Black women attorneys growing up. I probably met the first few Black women attorneys I knew were probably 11th grade, 12th grade. So it was toward the end of my high school years where I really started to kind of meet Black women attorneys. So I didn't personally know a lot of lawyers. But initially I wanted to be a civil rights lawyer. So I wanted to be a voice for Black folks and help them in some way. And I don't even know where, honestly, I should ask my parents. I don't know where the idea came from. But growing up in Cincinnati, I always just saw a lot of inequality with regards to Black folks and the white people who lived in Cincinnati. There was always like this huge gap in terms of like income and education. And I initially wanted to be a lawyer to help kind of close those gaps and help people who look like me. And so I'm doing it still now in just a different capacity. But yeah, I don't know where it initially came from. But once I figured out lawyers can help people and I want to help people who look like me, then that's kind of where the spark came from.
That's great. Okay. I thought you were going to say Claire Huxtable.
Yeah, a lot of people say that. No, a lot of people are saying that Cosby Show. I mean, I love Claire.
Yeah,
but she wasn't like I didn't like look up to her or anything.
Okay.
I mean, no shade, to, the show, but yeah.
No. Okay, you just saw or you envisioned something and you were like, I'm gonna go after it. I love it.
Well,
I love it. Okay. So we talked about your favorite NFL team. Who's your favorite NBA team?
So once again, I'm from Ohio. I go where LeBron goes. So right now it's the Lakers. When he leaves, I won't care. But I'm a huge LeBron fan, so I am by default now a Lakers fan.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, you're right in LA. Have you been to a Lakers game?
I have. I've been to a ton of Lakers games. Yeah.
Oh,
fun times. And Clippers games are actually really fun too. But yes, I have been to Lakers games pre-LeBron and post-LeBron.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's fun.
Very fun. Good times.
Okay, so this segment of the show is called Put Some Respect on My Name.
Okay.
So for all of those who may not be totally familiar with Jaia, Jaia's going to walk us through some of her career highlights. So Jaia, tell us a little bit about what you've done, what you've accomplished, because it's a lot. And I've been following you for a while, and this is your opportunity to boast and brag on yourself. So walk us through some of your career highlights.
Oh my gosh, this is tough. I'm really not good at bragging on myself, honestly. Let's see.
Not.
Yeah, this is not one of my strong suits. So brag on some of the things I've done. Well, okay, let me think. I'm going to brag on the fact that I started my own legal practice. There are still not a ton of Black-owned, especially Black-owned practices in sports and entertainment. So I am proud of that fact that I started my own practice and it's been successful. I am proud of the fact that I launched a few new courses at UCLA. I launched a seminar course on how to start a law practice for students who want to start their own legal practices. I started a seminar on that. I started a course on diversity in the entertainment industry to educate students on how they can be change makers in this space and increase diversity. I am very proud of my company, Diverse Representation, which I launched about 4.5 years ago. I'm going to brag on this. We have done some tremendous things in such a short amount of time, especially considering the bulk of our existence was during the pandemic. And we were able to ride that wave out and come out even stronger than when we first launched. But we've done some amazing things over the past 4.5 years, from launching a sports agent boot camp to, prepare the next generation of Black sports agents, to executive pipeline programs, to increasing the number of Black executives in sports and entertainment. We've launched, career summits. We've done a lot of amazing things. So I am going to brag on diverse representation because I think we've done some really phenomenal things in such a short amount of time.
That's what I was looking for. Thank you. Thank you.
My name.
Because, you're Jaia Thomas. It's sports royalty, okay? You not only have a law practice, but you're also, if not one of the leading voices, the leading voice when it comes to all things Black sports. So, yes, let me give you your flowers. It's amazing what you've done in this industry, and I'm so looking forward to what you all have planned in the coming years.
Oh, thank you. That means a lot. I'm super excited too. Honestly, when I launched Diverse Representation, I had no idea what it was going to turn into. I did not have a business plan. I did not have a 5-year goal. I was just like, let's just put it out there and see what happens. So I am extremely proud of everything we've been able to do.
Because it's amazing. And so tell me about what inspired diverse representation?
Great question. So as a Black woman attorney who's been practicing law for quite a while, a lot of my clients are Black, a lot of Black athletes, a lot of Black entertainers. And one thing I was always seeing was that oftentimes I'm the only Black person on their team. Mm-hmm. So I may be their lawyer, but their agent is white, their manager is white, their publicist is white, their financial advisor is white. And it used to literally drive me insane. Just seeing the ways in which a lot of white people in sports and entertainment were profiting off of our talents, off of our creativity, off of our hard work. And, in my mind, I'm just like, why aren't we doing a better job of hiring each other and keeping the money in our own communities? Because that's what a lot of other communities do. And they do a great job of it. But so that was always something in the back of my mind that bothered me. Why are we making all these white people millionaires when we could just hire each other and keep it in our own community? So I didn't really know what to do with this thought. It was just something that I was always in the back of my mind. And then the weekend that Black Panther came out, I was having a conversation with one of my girlfriends who's a Black publicist. And we were like, okay, that's great. All these Black faces on screen. Everybody's super excited. Oh, we've cured the diversity issue in Hollywood now, is what a lot of people were thinking. And I was having a conversation with her, like, okay, that's great to see these Black faces on screen, but who represents them? You know, who are the people behind the screen? Who are the people behind the scenes? And that weekend, I did some research and found out that the entire cast had white agents, white managers, white publicists, and white lawyers, except Lupita. Lupita at the time had a Black lawyer, and she still may have the same attorney. And I'm like, this is absolutely insane. And so that same weekend, I just say, you know what, I'm going to put out a database of all the Black agents in Hollywood, all the Black lawyers, all the Black managers, and all the Black publicists, so that no one can ever say anymore, I don't know where they are. You know, I can't hire them because I don't know who they are. Now here's a free database of all of them that you can go to and start hiring. And so that's really how the company started. I literally that weekend just came up with the name Diverse Representation. I was like, oh, okay, I think this works. And then put together, literally built the website myself of just like the names of all the Black agents, all the Black attorneys. Cause I'm like, we have got to do better. And that's really kind of how it started.
That is amazing.
Thank you.
That is amazing. So, okay. So the database is open to the public.
It is. Yeah, the database is open to the public. There's no fee, and I want to always keep it free because I don't ever want anyone to be like, well, I can't afford, I don't have any money. You know, I want to eliminate any excuse anybody may have to find a Black person to hire. So it's free. It's open to the public. And yeah, that's really what it started off as, just this database. I had no ideas for like programming and events. I was like, I just want to get the information out there so that we can start hiring each other. And not only do I want Black athletes and Black entertainers to hire, you know, Black teams, but I think it's also important for like the Black folks in these spaces, the Black agents know the Black attorneys know the Black managers, so that when it's time to refer business as well, we all know each other. Because I unapologetically refer Black. When I have a client who's like, I need a business manager, I'm only referring to Black business managers. Like, that's just is what it is. Like, you know, but we all have to know each other to be able to do that, you know, so that's important as well.
Is there a membership element, like a paid membership?
There is. So there is a membership element for Black reps and Black executives. We have a private message board where people can share referrals, opportunities, speaking opportunities, things like that. And we have like discounts for members for like all of our programming and events. So yeah.
Okay. Is there and I'm asking selfishly because I think this should happen. Is there a diverse representation podcast coming? That's my microphone.
I tell you, we have been talking about doing a podcast for like the past, I'm going to say like year and a half, 2 years. We've been talking about it. Okay. And we have some very early planning in place for it. But to answer your question, yes, we are talking about it. We're trying to plan it out. I would love that. I think there's so many Black folks in this space that nobody knows about, that people should know about, that I think we should definitely interview. So this is my long way of saying, yes, we have thought about it, and we're working towards it.
In the spirit of accountability, when is the podcast going to launch?
Hold me accountable. Please hold me accountable, because like I said, we've been talking about this for like a year and a half. And we had wanted to launch it last year. And it just, things got really hectic. So I'm hoping this year.
Okay.
Hold me accountable though.
Okay. This year, by December 31st, 2023, I'll be able to have diverse representation episodes on my phone. Yes.
We're going to put that in the universe. Yes.
Okay. I'm excited, and I look forward to being at the launch party in LA. No, I think that would be so dope. And like you said, I think there's so many people out there that needs this content consistently. I love consuming the diverse representation content, either on LinkedIn or on your Instagram. And it's amazing how you all like as soon as some sort of news happens, like you all are posting about it, like, hey, DC got the most Black owners in it, like, and you have them all listed out and who owns what. It's amazing. Yes. And I think it would be so great to be able to consume that content audibly. So I am rooting for you all.
Thank you. And thank you so much for following us on like our socials. We have an amazing graphic artist, a Black woman based in LA, and she is chef's kiss. Like she is on it with our graphics for like all of our platforms. So thank you.
Of course, like literally on it within seconds. Right? And Johnson signed, the post happened. I was like, this is impressive.
Like, did the ink dry yet?
So it's great what you all are doing. Okay. I went off on a sidetrack. I'm sorry. So why was it important for you to, under diverse representation, why was it important to establish Black Women in Sports Day?
Great question. So I am familiar with a lot of women in sports programs and initiatives, and there are a lot of websites focused on women in sports as a whole. But I think that there are specific challenges that Black women face in sports that kind of it needs its own attention. You know, I don't think we always need to be clumped in with everybody else. And sometimes I think when we are clumped in with everybody else, we still fall to the bottom of the totem pole. So I really wanted to launch this specific day to solely focus on Black women, because I still think Black women in sports are still undervalued, underpaid, you know, under everything across the board. And so I wanted to bring attention to Black women in sports. So I said, you know, I think we should just create a day to celebrate them and to bring awareness and to highlight them and to serve as an inspiration to young Black girls, to let them know about all these different careers that you can pursue in sports. So that is why we decided to launch it.
That was such a big day. And thank you for doing that.
Thank you. And once again, I had no idea how it was going to turn out. I'm like, hopefully somebody posts. I don't know. It ended up like being like a lot of people, like more than I even anticipated, especially for its first year.
Yeah. And it got a lot of media placement too. I'm sure that was strategic, but like a lot of people picked up on that. It was amazing.
Yeah. And a lot of people, that day was so hectic. Like I was expecting it to be like a little crazy, but it got like really crazy with like publications reaching out and like, you know, LinkedIn wanting to focus on, like, it became like a thing, which I'm super excited about, because once again, I had no idea. You know, I was like, hopefully somebody posts, but it ended up being like so many people across all platforms. So my goal for next year is to make it even bigger and do some programming around it as well.
Yes. Count me in. Whatever you do, I'm flying wherever.
Accountability. Let me write that down. Definitely.
Awesome. So like, I keep saying this, but that was so huge what you did. And it's so important because like you said, yes, there are challenges with women in sport, but the challenges with Black women in sport is so nuanced. And I think it's often overlooked, but I'm so happy that on July 7th, we elevated Black women in sport. Like it was such an occasion. It was a party on my timeline. It was awesome.
Thank you. I think it really was. And honestly, seeing so many Black women excited about it just let me know like how much this is needed. You know, like we really are filling a void, because I feel like so many Black women still feel unseen in these spaces, and they got to, you know, talk about their accomplishments and what they're excited about. And, you know, to me, that just made it obvious that this was something that was very much needed.
Yes. So along those same lines, like, let's say for our listeners who may be out there and they really want to follow some influential Black women in sport on LinkedIn or on Instagram, who are, I'll say, the Black women to watch? And I know it's so many, but the ones that come top of mind, that would be helpful for some of our followers and listeners to, you know, tap into on LinkedIn or Instagram.
Oh my gosh, it's so many. And I feel like I'm going to get in trouble if I don't say certain people's names.
Oh, okay. We don't want that.
We don't want that. Just follow all Black women.
Follow all. If they look Black, just follow them because they're doing amazing things.
Absolutely.
Okay, you're right. We don't want that.
This is my lawyer answer.
Awesome. Well, again, look, I'm excited for the future of you all. So, Jaia, how do you define success?
Great question. I define success as doing work that fulfills you and makes you happy and is helpful to others in some way, shape, or form.
I love that. In that same realm of success, so here at the Success Playbook Podcast, we believe that failure is one of the gateways to success, right? And we believe in the art of taking L's. So there's an art of being able to fail and utilizing that for your future success. So can you tell us a little bit about one major L that you took and how it ultimately helped shape your future of success?
Oh, you know what? I'm so sorry. The whole screen froze for a second.
Okay, it froze on my end too. Check 1, 2.
Uh-oh, it froze again. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you now. Can you hear me?
Now too.
Okay, cool. All right, sorry.
So repeat the question for me?
Yes, of course. So here at the Success Playbook Podcast, we know that failure is a gateway to success. And we know that there is a art of taking L's, right? There is a way that you can fail and allow it to fuel your success. So I would love to hear about maybe one of your L's, one of your failing moments that ultimately shaped who you are today and put you on this path, this journey that you're on.
Ooh, great question. Because honestly, I take L's every day.
Love that.
Even so. And I am at this point almost unfazed by them. I mean, I use them as learning lessons, but I'm pretty unfazed by them at this point.
I love that.
What would I say? There have been so many L's. Let me think here. Geez, I have L's all the time. I would say, okay, I know. You're going to have to probably edit out all that silence. So I would say, honestly, when I first moved to LA, I took a lot of L's. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to name any names, but one of my first jobs was working for a production company. A well-known actor had his own production company, and I worked for the company. That job lasted maybe like 3 weeks, and I got let go. Yeah, I took an L there. And it was my first job in the entertainment industry. It was my first job in Los Angeles. And I was still learning the land. I was still kind of learning the landscape and not doing the best job of it, honestly. So, I got let go, which was fine. I mean, I didn't really love the work anyway. It was just kind of helping me get my foot in the door. But that was definitely an L. But I learned from it. And even just those 3 weeks I was there, I started to learn about the ins and outs of Hollywood and how things work and who's who and things like that. So it was still worth it in the long run. But yeah, that was my very first job in LA, and it did not end up quite working out. But I've taken a lot of L's throughout my entire career, and I still take them today. And I just use them as learning lessons. And I've taken a lot of L's even with diverse representation. There are things we've done that were not successful. We've had a lot of great successes over the past few years, but there are some things that did not work out well, and there are things that I dropped the ball on and I had to take accountability for. And, use them as learning lessons. And that's the other thing about like entrepreneurship. Sometimes you're just going to throw things at the wall and see what sticks, and some things are not going to stick and they're going to be failures. And that comes with the territory of being an entrepreneur. Not everything is going to work out, and you have to be able to deal with that, and some people aren't great at dealing with it. I will say that's one thing that I probably do well in is I'm okay feeling and bouncing back and learning. I always try to learn something from it though.
Yeah. And I love hearing stories like this because, today we see this amazing, beautiful, high-powered attorney with diverse representation, as a quote unquote side hustle, which is actually, it's not nothing side about it. But we're also hearing about how you got fired within 3 weeks on the job. So I think that's just a learning lesson for all of us to kind of number one, give ourselves some grace. And number two, really lean into L's.
Absolutely. Life is ups and downs. Everything is not going to always work out. Everything is not going to always be rainbows and butterflies. I think the biggest thing is to learn though, from each experience, walk away, having learned something from each L in each experience, and you'll be fine.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, how can we support you, Jaia?
Great question. So I would love you all to support diverse representation. You can follow us on all social media platforms, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. Also sign up for our newsletter. You can do that by going to our website, diverserepresentation.com. We send out pretty regular newsletters about things going on in the industry affecting Black folks. You can visit our website, become familiar with the names on the website, the reps, the agents, the attorneys, the publicists, and refer them, as you hear people who may need, people in these spaces. You can also support us by attending some of our programming and our events. We have a lot of great programming coming up, even this fall. This fall, we are doing a Black ownership and sports symposium in Atlanta to teach Black professionals on how to become owners of professional sports teams. This is the first event of its kind. We're going to have Black owners there talking about the process of becoming owners. We also are doing a handful of other panels and events throughout the year. So support, I will say most of our in-person programming is in LA, New York. We're having this symposium in Atlanta. But we are branching out. We do have a lot of virtual events as well. So you can support us that way too. Sorry, that was probably a very long answer.
No.
But support us in all the ways. In conclusion, yes.
Love it. And then, so random question. Do you all do programming at all during Super Bowl and All-Star Weekend?
We do. So great question. So this past Super Bowl was our very first time doing programming at Super Bowl. We hosted a very intimate lunch, a Super Bowl weekend for Black executives and Black agents, attorneys, and publicists. It was about, I would say 45 people or so. So this was.
What up? This is Torre, host of the Hard to Earn podcast. And if you're a fan of music reviews, then be sure to check out and subscribe to Hard to Earn, where my partner Bonsu Thompson and I review your favorite new albums and classic albums on pivotal anniversaries, 10, 15, 20, etc. We review track by track, rating from 1 to that elusive perfect 10. It's brought to you exclusively by the Revolt Podcast Network, anchored in hip-hop, powered by creators.
This is our first time doing it this year at Super Bowl in Phoenix. During NBA All-Star Weekend, we have hosted a few events as well. Usually they're brunches and panels for Black executives in sports. Next year, we are planning something very, very big for Super Bowl. I cannot give it away. When it's ready, I will, give you guys the exclusive. But we are planning something big for Super Bowl in Las Vegas for Black folks who work in sports. So stay tuned. Very excited for that.
Awesome. Well, we are excited for you, and we're so looking forward to all things Jaia Thomas and diverse representation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Of course. Thank you for stopping by, Jaia.
Thank you for having me.
Of course.
Who needs an alarm in the morning when McDonald's has sausage, egg, and cheese McGriddles and a breakfast cutoff? Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.